Good morning, everyone. I think almost everyone's in. Good morning. I'm so sorry that we started a little later today, and thank y'all for being here on a Thursday and not a Friday, the second week of the month. Appreciate you all being flexible. The breakfast with the boards are one of my favorite things and definitely a priority. It's so great to hear directly from our high schoolers. So thank you all for bearing with me, seeing that some of those are on Friday mornings. And that's why we rescheduled this meeting. For those who don't know me, I'm Katie Howard. I am the District 1 representative, and I asked to have a monthly virtual meeting, typically on the first Friday of the month, but again, that's been adjusted. And I always start off by some updates, and I'll give it one more minute because I think there are a lot of people joining. Keith, what do you think? Give it a minute.
I think you're good. Let's
Everybody.
it's recorded. So I mean, we always go back and post so people can catch up if need be. So I think we're good to go.
All right, I'll keep going. So yeah, I'll start off giving some updates, and then I definitely want to hear from you all and take questions. Keith always helps me with that, and we try to keep questions to about 2 minutes so that we have time to hear from everybody. So, as you all know, I love talking about student outcomes, focused governance, and our progress monitoring. And on Monday, we looked at our data from kindergarten to first grade and who is struggling the most there. And also second through 8th and projected proficiency for students in milestones. So I hope you all were able to listen into the meeting or definitely go back. There were a lot of questions from everybody on the board. It was great hearing everybody's perspective and feedback around the data that we were shown. We looked at the spring data from last year and then the winter data from most recently from MAP testing. And what we had some questions around in particular, looking at the spring data, clearly that was kindergartners from last year. And now we're looking at the winter, which is not those kids, it's the first graders. But also looking at the fall data from this year, we definitely had an increase in the amount of students with difficulty, experiencing difficulty in literacy. And sorry, I did not make that clear before. We're looking at literacy right now. And our questions were around what are we doing to address that? Clearly a lot of conversation, encourage you all to go back and listen, but some of the things that we're really focused on, again, we're being told that one of the things working is foundations, which ties in with Orton Gillingham, and questions around what needs more support was professional development and additional support for educators in that work. So a lot of questions around that and what we're doing to further strengthen that and really monitor it. One of my main tiebacks was to the budget. We are clearly in budget season. So wanting to know how we're making sure that's fully supported in the budget. Also questions around, predicting the proficiency of students 2 through 8. Clearly there's a lot of work to be done in literacy there and what we're doing to really drill in there. We heard about the learning walks that Associate Soups do throughout the district. Certainly want to learn even more about how that is consistently applied and supported and the feedback that's relayed back so we know the realities for our students on the ground and how we best support that as a board. Certainly with resources and approaches and making sure monitoring that the way we should. So that's a short synopsis of that conversation. And in my next update that I'll send out, I always talk about the data, but I'll make sure to do some refreshing of this. I did my update before we actually did our monitoring, but always ask me questions. The progress monitoring report is on the board's website. You can see all of them that we've done. Please go in and look at them. We are very transparent in this work and sharing the data and the work we have to do to talk about it. And again, ask what's working, what's not, and how we support what is. So that was a robust discussion on Monday. Another thing I want to touch on with the budget report that we received, the Student Success Funding Task Force. I'm sure you all have been paying attention to the fact that we have been doing work to update that formula. And a question I know we all have as board members looking at, again, how we're best funding and supporting our schools, which are unique. They all have challenges and needs, but unique populations of students. And knowing that we have some schools that are clearly growing, that still have a lot of needs, but their demographics are changing, we do see a shift in the funding there. So I am really looking forward to the conversation in the budget about how we make sure that all of our students throughout the system are fully supported. I think APS has done a really good job overall with the Student Success Funding formula to really drill in and make sure the money goes with the students. But we do need to make sure we're always, as we are right now, making sure that that funding formula is up to date and really attached to the needs of our kids. So I will be participating in every budget opportunity I can. Encourage you all to stay up to date as well and send your feedback in. And the next thing I definitely want to cover is making sure everybody knows about next Wednesday's meeting, which will be about high school capacity. Be February 15th. I think we have a meeting at noon virtually, and then 6 o'clock at King Middle School. I will tune in virtually if I can. I will definitely be at King at 6 o'clock. We'll be getting an update from the administration. And I know they'll be showing, I'm sure, the data that was presented to us on Monday during the board meeting consent agenda. You can go find it on Assembly. I will try to send out a link. And if the link can be posted, there's Travis, because he's awesome. It's in the chat right now. And Travis, is this information on the facilities page on the website, on the main APS website? Is that the best place for people to get updated information?
Yeah, I'm going to get with Dan to make sure. They were creating a brand new website for redistricting and these conversations. So let me just confirm that. But in the meantime, here are all the links, and we'll put the updated link hopefully by the end of this session.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So definitely go there and look soon, or definitely tune in next Wednesday to hear what is presented. Know there'll be a lot of feedback. I will definitely be engaged in that heavily. And before I pause to get questions from all of you, I definitely want to highlight the breakfast with the boards. Again, love hearing directly from our high schoolers. They know exactly what's going on. They know what's working for them. Their feedback is invaluable. Thanks to Keith Glass and team and the Student Advisory Council, which is amazing. And I love it when we go to the schools, they're drawing in their peers from different clubs and organizations, student government. It's not just the Student Advisory Council, and making sure we're hearing a cross section of voices. So we've done Therrell, North Atlanta, Drew, Mays, and Friday is Douglas. Am I missing anybody, Keith? Yes. It's been so enriching and awesome. So thanks again for bearing with me as I adjust my schedule for these meetings, so I can definitely be there. And I know my colleagues have really benefited from that as well. And it's great getting out in the high schools and hearing from students. Lastly, I have put forth a proposed community engagement plan for the board, because we have our own engagement plan that we need to present and work on that's aligned with student outcomes focused governance and the work we're doing. Tamara's been a great partner and thought partner in that work, and it's going to come through board development. So I'm hopeful that we can discuss that at our board development meeting, which is also next Wednesday at 10:45, or is it Thursday? I may be getting that wrong. But stay tuned for that. The goal is, and definitely working with Pierre and Keith to get feedback, but to see how we as a board can get out almost into quadrants throughout the city with no less than 3 of us to hear in a more collective way from cross-section of people throughout APS. So a lot of work to be done there. You know, definitely going to be working with my colleagues to help develop that. And it's a joint effort for sure, but I'm really excited about that work. I appreciate that we all have our meetings like this one, but I think it's real important for us to get out there collectively and hear from folks throughout the system. So gonna pause there. Definitely want to hear from you all and get questions. Keith always keeps me in line, so I'm gonna let him line people up
Yes,
and
ma'am.
get started.
Yep. So good morning, everyone. Happy Black History Month. Happy month of February. And thank you so much for being here this morning and adjusting your schedule accordingly. So now we have reached the opportunity for you guys to engage with Board Member Howard and other board members and administration. And so as always, if you do have any questions, concerns, and feedback to provide to them, we do ask that you raise your hand so we can place you into a queue, and we'll go from there. Again, we just ask if you do have questions or concerns that you get directly to them. We have a lot of people on the call and the meeting's only set 4 hours. So please, we could. So I'm saying Akeem right now. And so we'll go him, and then I'm sure we'll have others in. Akeem?
Hi, Keem.
Hey, how y'all doing? I just have a quick question right now. I'm gonna come back. I have other questions I'm preparing and making sure I write them down and get them right. But my first question is, Mr. Glass, can you make sure that you send out the meeting notifications at least like 24 hours before? I don't know if that's possible or not. I only ask because this meeting wasn't posted until about 10 or 9:30 or 10 o'clock last night. And then for the meeting happened this morning at 9 o'clock, I feel like that's not enough notice for us.
Yeah. So the email, I sent the email out on, what's today, Thursday? I sent the email out on Monday, Tuesday.
Can you make sure my name is added to that email list? Because I haven't gotten any emails from BOE.
I would definitely make sure of that. But yeah, the email was sent out. I did post it yesterday, but the email went out to everyone on Monday, Tuesday.
Okay, and I just want to make sure that we're intentional around family and other engagement practices, because when we have other community members that's not on that email list, we heavily rely on social media. So can you make sure that that's posted enough time so people are able to adjust their schedule, especially when people have to work, typically around at 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 p.m., especially when it's a meeting during the day. I would just ask that it be posted in enough time so that community members could join it and adjust their day.
Received. Thank you, Akeem. Yeah, and I know this is not the optimal time, but I know that we all have our various meetings and are out in the community as much as possible, but appreciate you bringing that up as well. And I know I have work to do in terms of posting on social media too. So thank you for bringing that up.
All right, we'll go to Waikisha.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Michelle.
I have a quick question. I've been going to the Go Team meetings, and I noticed that the Go Team meetings they can barely keep their meetings because they can't get enough people. It's only really staff there, and staff are not asking the principal real questions when it comes to the budget. And then we will get into the conversation later after the budget is approved about what school get what. What is deeply disturbing is the number of enrollment for next school year. We have schools that's losing anywhere from 20 to 100 plus students. What is going on, and where are the children? Because I'm seeing schools that only have 200 students. Please tell me, how are we able to keep those schools open when we just closed the school that had more students than that?
Well, I will say, excuse me, and starting that Thomasville was down to about 70 students. But I hear you. It is a serious issue. We know lack of quality, affordable housing is a main contributing factor. And it's going to take work on part of all of us in partnership with the city around that piece. But yes, monitoring closely and making sure we're fully supporting our students. But I would love to talk to you offline about which particular schools and any support I can lend regarding Go Team. So happy to follow up with you about that as well, Waikisha.
Yeah, that's fine. If anybody from the Go Team office is on, I would love to hear why did we switch the Go Team the way we did, and why we have staff, which we know we barely have staff because teachers are leaving the field for many reasons. But like why are there only so many teachers or staff members and less partners or community members and parents?
Yeah, and each co-team is different, as it should be. I mean, the positions are not different, but who exactly is serving. And there's some ebb and flow there, and it needs a lot of support. And I do want to make sure I recognize all the incredible APS staff people who are on today. I really appreciate y'all being here. I don't know if anyone's here representing specifically Go Team, but we can, Travis, I know you do it all.
We'll do-
If you want to speak to that, and Waikisha, I can follow up as well.
Sure, I think it's a twofold question, Ms. Howe. One is probably best for facilities at some point on kind of the trends that we're seeing in students and schools. As it goes for Go Teams, every Go Team is required to have 3 parents, 3 staff, 2 community members, a student or 2 at high school, and a swing seat. And so they have to make a quorum from those people. So it would have to be, because there's only 3 staff on a Go Team, there would have to be more than 3 staff on the Go, or people other than staff, to make a quorum show up to those meetings. And we continue to work with those schools that don't meet compliance by having quorum problems. And then there's always mobility of parents switching schools, staff switching schools, like you call, that we then have to backfill. But we'll keep a look at it. If you have particular, as always, if you have particular schools that you've seen have been issues, please continue to reach out to us. We can make sure that we are there.
All right, thank you so much, Travis. And Waikisha, I'll follow up with you later too. Thank you. And I know we need to keep moving. And Keith, I know you're on it, but I think something's going on with the registration, but I know you see it. So thank you. Yes, I will text people and let them know I see that, and we're letting them in. This is being recorded. We will send out the recording. All right, so I know Keith is multitasking. Is Dawn next, Keith? Awesome. Hey, Dawn.
Hello. Hi, Katie. Good morning, everyone.
Good
Hey,
morning.
I was actually, start to walk. All right. So one, I just want to piggyback because I have actually another question off of what Waikisha just said. I think it's really interesting. She talked about the capacity and the number of students and how enrollment is really fluctuating, but kind of not in a great way. And again, I agree with you, Katie, that there are some issues around affordable housing that may be pushing some of our parents out. But I also want to make sure that we're aware and we talk about the chartered schools. And I will tell you that one of the things that I did want to talk about is the petition that's going around, and the fact that so many parents are unhappy with what their children are receiving in Atlanta Public Schools. They are opting to go other places. And I think not to call that out. So yes, affordable housing, absolutely agree with you. But I think an even bigger part, people are looking to escape the learning environments and the education that Atlanta Public Schools is providing. And I think that that has to be addressed, if that makes sense.
I hear you, Dawn.
Right.
And I know,
Yeah.
I know specifically, what you're referencing to. And I think we always have work to do around pushing out what is happening in our schools and highlighting and doing work to address things that need additional support. I will say that right.
And I definitely appreciate it. Like, you've always been very welcoming and, just kind of listening. But I will tell you that part of the reason why that petition is going around is, one, to put validity around the small number of voices. Like, you hear from Dawn and Waikisha and Dion and all of these different people all the time, but it was important. And I actually made this in my comments at the board Monday night. It's important to understand you have so many more unhappy customers that just aren't saying anything, that just aren't signing, and that has to be recognized. You see that also with the fact that typically what happens when you're unhappy, you walk away. You don't say anything, you just leave. And that's why you're seeing so many people that are leaving Atlanta Public Schools. And as you know, I'm definitely a traditional public school person. I believe in community schools. I'm not a big charter person at all. Matter of fact, I'm just not a charter person. That was the wrong way to say it. I'm not. And I think that until we at some point, some of this got to change. So we stop the flow and we have people that want to leave charter schools and come back to Atlanta Public Schools.
I hear you. And I'm
okay.
Go ahead.
And the last thing, and one of the last things is that I sent an email. And by the way, I think I sent a thank you to you because you responded to my email around the board breakfast at Mays and also around some of the data and the state of the district address, the 2036. And in that state of the district address, Dr. Herring said that there were students currently enrolled in the Google-led classrooms. Nobody at Mays knows about it, and I think I've put that in the email. I have not had a response from Dr. Herring. Again, you're her manager. When I say you, there are other board members on here. Please ask her. It's been a week, well, almost a week, because I sent the email on Thursday last week. Please get her to respond. It's really important that we clearly understand what is happening, what isn't happening. If there was an error, it just needs to be corrected. Right. And I just want to make sure that there is a response to those emails. And a lot of it, again, we say we're data, we're APS 5, and the number one thing is data. I want to make sure that we're truly leading with data. And when the response comes to me, it's actually data. There's data
Agree.
in the response, right? And I'm not going to hog up any more time, but that was the biggest thing, is just making sure that if it's an error, because right now Mays is saying there are no students enrolled in that Google-led classroom. When we went to curriculum night, there was no information on it. They could give us nothing. And everybody was in that building, like all of the master teacher leaders, schedulers, everybody. So that needs to be corrected if there was an error, because that's huge to actually go out on a platform and say something and it's not true about students. Okay.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That needs
Thank
to
you.
be clarified and you need a response. So, and I
Thank
know
you.
board member Mitchell's on here too. So thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
Let's see,
So we
Whitney-
got, we got Whitney, Akeem, and then Sydney. Good morning, Whitney.
Hey,
Good
Whitney.
morning. Can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, morning.
Two quick things. First of all, I appreciate you going out to the high schools and doing those listening tours. I may have missed it, but you didn't mention Midtown. Are you guys planning on?
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Midtown?
Hold tight. Yeah,
Okay,
went to Midtown
okay.
last year and I will definitely be at Midtown this year, and I wore my old school. Then Grady.
Okay, just wanted to make sure because you
I
didn't
was
mention
there.
Midtown. So
I was
and
in
then I
all
guess
the
my
matters.
follow-
I'm not leaving them out.
my follow-up question to that was, as you're talking about capacity, you're getting feedback. In my opinion, it's probably important to get that also from middle schoolers and middle school parents, because those are actually going to be the ones that are going to be most affected as we make these changes, if there are any, over the next couple of years. Because, you know, not to leave out the current parents, but if you have an 11th or 12th grader, you're probably not going to be as affected as somebody who has a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader. So just wanted to add that into the conversation.
For sure. I think everyone should be there. People who have elementary school age kids, people who are not even in school yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
I agree. I agree. I'm glad you brought that up, and I will certainly highlight that in my reminders to get people
Okay.
out. So
Thank
thank you,
you.
Whitney, and I look forward to being at Midtown for sure. All right, so I'll let you call. Akeem, are you
Then
next?
Akeem, Sydney, and then Meredith.
Cool. Akeem again.
Hi, board members. I just wanted to speak this morning about the integrity around the district, especially on the southwest side of town. I did not see not one APS post yesterday about the young student that has been missing from Young Middle School, which is very concerning to me, especially being that there's a narrative out that he was put out of class, and we really don't know what happened after that from the news report. It's a little scary, being that that is our third student that go missing in less than 3 weeks. Yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead.
Oh,
and answer.
I was gonna say,
That was my only
he
comment.
thankfully has been found, and
Oh, I haven't seen that post yet.
we got a information from the superintendent, and it was detailed around the situation. So I will leave that there, but we can follow up appropriately with you about that.
Okay, that sounds like a
I will
plan.
say that that news report wasn't all inclusive, but that's the news. But we did receive follow-up on that. He thankfully has been found. And yeah, I mean, one thing I ask high schoolers, just to put it out there, is like, what is your safe space at school? How do you feel supported? We know that when kids are going through things, they need a safe place to go and trusted adults to talk with. And that's part of the work we must do to make sure that kids can learn to the fullest potential, and the resources to make sure that's in our schools. Each situation is unique, but just making sure we have that in place in the right way that fits the needs of our schools is critically important. Is that
I think he was done.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Akeem. Is Cindy next? Keith,
Yep,
I'm
so we go Cindy, Meredith, and then Dima.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning.
Cindy. I'm part of the GO team, but I'm at M. Agnes Jones. So
Oh,
to
awesome. I
piggyback-
love M. Agnes Jones. Yay.
Yes,
Thanks for being
so,
here.
to piggyback, I think the problem, is what Keisha mentioned, because I am on the GO team and I have noticed that we do the public notice, because of course, 4 of your meetings have to be or the public too is on the private for the members. I think part of the problem too is getting the word out and parents being able to join the meeting, because I noticed that we've done the meetings and done them publicly and very few parents are getting on there. So like what Keisha said, when you get on there and it's just the staff and it's the GO team members, the appropriate questions are not being answered. I try my best because I do talk to my parents in my area to address some things in my area. Not all GO team members do that. So I think that we need to, as GO team members and committee, we need to come up with a better way effectively to get these parents on this meeting so they can ask their questions, so their questions can be answered. Because like I said, I do talk to my parents, and when I don't see them, I do bring those concerns back to the meeting and talk it over with the team. But I think it's more important that the parents hear how the staff is addressing their issues rather than hearing it from me secondhand. Secondly, to piggyback, I'm with Waukesha, with all of the students leaving and all of the choices that the kids are beginning to get to go to other schools and other places and out of zone. We're gonna have a real problem keeping our school open. So I'm with Waukesha. I think that keeping schools open, keeping them full, and keeping people there is going to be a real conversation that's gonna need to be had, because the way I'm looking at it, within the next 2 or 3 years, if this continues, we're not gonna hardly have any schools in our area, because the kids are gonna be gone, and then we're gonna start closing schools. That's gonna be bad. So I just think that, a conversation around how to keep them open, how to keep the kids in. And I did hear somebody saying about the displeasing curriculum and teaching in the public schools. I get that a lot. And I think that that needs to be something that needs to be addressed as well.
Well, first, let me say thank you for serving on the GO team. It's a critically important role, and thank you for doing it. And, Travis can speak more to the way a GO team meeting operates. I know it's not the time for back and forth feedback. There can be other opportunities for that. It's certainly
Correct.
people can, come and listen. So I appreciate you bringing that up and that you're actively working to get feedback, and I've served on a GO team, so I get that role. But I hear you. There needs to be conversation back and forth between principals, administration, educators, and families about what's going on and having that conversation. So always encourage people like you in your role to be asking for that, and find ways to make that happen at your school in a way that meets your families where they are and is convenient for them, because we know GO team meetings happen at different times too. So, and agree, we gotta work hard to make sure that our families definitely see all their schools as choice schools. I agree. I've had a lot of experience and definitely getting the good word out and continuing to support what's happening and has been happening at the schools in my community. But yeah, it is definitely something and I know other board members are watching closely in terms of how we do that from the board role. So just, keep up the good work, and I'm happy to talk offline about any ways I can support. Aretta Baldwin is your board member. I know that, she's definitely extremely supportive of M. Agnes Jones, and I know families there. So I'm so thankful for that incredible school, and know great things are happening, but I'm glad you're lifting up some ways that things need to be better supported. So yeah, I'm always here to be a listening ear, but encourage you to reach out to Board Member Baldwin as well.
Yeah, I've been conversating with her.
Okay.
Thank
Well, I'm
you.
here too. We're all working together, for the same thing.
Yeah,
Focus
but
on
I'm just, like I said, as far as the school closing, I'm just a little bit concerned across the board because there are a lot of school closing and in a lot of the schools, the enrollment is very low. And so with the enrollment being low, then after a while, it's going to be said, oh, well, the enrollment is low, let's shift these kids to go over here. And I don't think that's necessarily going to be the right answer, but I don't know. We'll have to work to it.
And we're not there. I mean, that's not being put forth right now. We're talking about high school capacity and over capacity high schools. So
Yeah, and they are overcapacitated.
we're having that conversation first. So no one's talking about closing any elementary schools. So let's make that clear right now. But they're definitely long-term planning and looking at best supporting all our students. Yes, there are conversations that we'll be continuing to have, and that would come from the district level, from the administration. So, but I'm glad you bring that up because we need to always make sure that we're fully supporting our schools. All right. Is Meredith next?
Yep, Meredith.
Hey, Meredith.
Hey, Katie. I'm going to piggyback along the lines of as just a suggestion on the last point. The last actual conversation that I was a part of that anything was actually conversed and not spoken to us or presented to us in a PowerPoint was 13 years ago at Redistricting Conversations with Errol Davis. So just a suggestion is when you do these community engagement sessions, we actually talk and we actually listen to the constituents and the parents in the room rather than just present us with data and facts that you guys bring to the table. I mean, we all can watch a PowerPoint presentation at home. It's the conversations that we as community members need to have together and not one-on-one with board members behind closed doors so that everybody is talking together. It's the only way that we're going to continue to move forward as a district and as a whole is that we can work together and have conversation. I mean, it's just the basic fundamentals of humanity. So that's one thing, because I do think that there's room to talk and room to grow in the way stuff is structured. Another point, and I appreciate your email response, but we have no solution going on with the lack of athletic trainers or at the high school level. The short-term solution that was proposed by Dr. Herring has already fallen flat. We have had games with no trainers on site. We had a soccer player have to come off the field and the parents had to put him into a concussion protocol. So there's nobody there looking out for the first aid and safety of our athletes. I am thrilled that Jackson, Mays, and Carver have full-time trainers, but these other schools deserve it, and something needs to be done immediately with the sports going on in the spring. We cannot wait till something bad happens to one of our kids to respond. The money is there, so we really have to push it.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you, and I appreciated the response from the superintendent. I don't think it's a matter of the money. I think it's a matter of the people, and Wellstar has impacted all of us, and there's some serious impacts for people throughout the city because of the closure of Atlanta Medical. And I hear you, it's a critical need and it needs to be addressed, and I'll keep watching it closely. And back to the listening sessions, and I think actually Jackson, I was hearing, just got lucky that their trainer didn't have to leave. I don't think it's anyone doing anything in a certain manner or form. I think it's been just the way the chips have fallen with the impact of Wellstar. I appreciate their outreach to Grady and others and Morehouse to address the need. So again, I'll be monitoring it. And back to listening sessions and hearing from people throughout the system, 100% agree. There's got to be conversation and a space for people to be able to share. And I know I reflect on the one I went to so long ago now at Inman, where people were broken up into small groups. And I thought it was really productive. And it was like 400 people. So we know we've done it, and we can continue to do it, and we can adjust that as well. So I hear you, and I'll certainly be supporting that as well as we move forward in this process. So thank you for bringing both of those points. And I am monitoring the training situation, as I know, like Tamara and others are too, or trainer rather.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dima, and then Lisa, and then Diane.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Katie, and everyone. Thanks for coming to thanks for holding these sessions. I have 3 children, one at Maryland in 1st grade, one at Howard in 6th grade, and one at Midtown in 10th grade. I'm also a co-chair of the Candle Park Neighborhood Organization Education Committee. I want to make 2 points if possible. The first one is with regards to the capacity numbers that were put out on Monday in the presentations to the board. It's very important that we understand how these capacity numbers are calculated and why they keep changing. Most kind of clear examples are the Midtown High School capacity. Last year in April 2022, there was a presentation when they were going through the motion of rezoning some of the neighborhoods that feed into Maryland. It showed that Midtown capacity was 1,700. And that has been the case for several years. And in the Monday presentation, it showed Midtown capacity as 1,525. And when they look at the classroom numbers, it showed 7 classrooms lost, 7 core classrooms lost at Midtown. And it's not clear which number is the correct one. And if the enrollment now, today, at Midtown is 1,600, how is it possible that its capacity 1,525? So I think a very close look needs to be made about these capacity numbers and why they're changing, and what's the process, and what's the procedures, what are the procedures for examining these numbers? Because honestly, high school capacity is not the same as a elementary school capacity. It's not a formula. It's not we have 25 kids in a classroom. There are some classes that have 10 students because this is an elective class, and some classes are project-based, and some classes are seminar-based. So before we go into the February 15th session next week, and they go and present to us the same numbers, they really need to come with a very clear explanation for how these numbers are being calculated and why they changed. How did Midtown lose so many classrooms? And similar to Howard Middle School, yes, it's not under the capacity, it's not in the red zone for capacity, but it's showing also a reduction of 300 students from April 2022 to the calculation of this week. Why? All these need to be explained, because the impact of all these numbers shifting around are huge. The solutions that can be done to deal with overcrowding, if there is overcrowding in the first place, the solutions are going to be very dependent on, are we on the margins or are we way above the margins? Mm-hmm. We can't keep making decisions about rezoning and redistricting and changing and ripping communities apart when we're not confident about the capacity numbers, and we're not confident about the projection of enrollments, especially after the pandemic. That's the first point. And then the second point is regarding rumors. There are so many rumors that are floating around. People talking about renovation at Cone, people talking about these particular neighborhoods are going to be moved into Crim and Cone. There's a new high school that's going to be built, but not a middle school. So something needs to be done so that these rumors can be clarified. Are they correct? Are they not correct? There's a lot of anxiety and worries in the community.
I'm glad you brought up both of those. First of all, could not agree more. I know we have some people on the call right now who could touch on some of the questions you asked around the numbers. I will definitely give them opportunity, but I agree it'd be good to have follow-up between now and Wednesday with some additional information, and certainly really focusing in on it Wednesday to the extent appropriate around why there has been some change clearly from what you were shown before. Definitely need to have clarification and further explanation. Around the rumors, I'm getting some interesting questions, and Wednesday, I expect there to be clarification around that as well. Because I think it's very important for people to know what is actually being talked about right now and what is or is not before the board right now. So hear you 100%. I'm going to pause there in case Dan, Jerry, anybody wants to say anything about the numbers right now or about how additional information will be coming out to clarify some things or further explain things.
Thank you, Board Member Howard. As far as the capacity and Dima, agreed with you that we do need to provide some clarity as far as why these numbers are changing. One couple things just want to chat about. So one thing that we need to remember is that capacity is not necessarily always going to be a static number. Capacity is a choice that's being made by how the buildings are being used. So to give you an example, in Midtown High School, there are 94 classrooms. And there was a shift of, as noted, 7 classrooms from core to non-core. And it's the core classrooms that we look at that will help dictate. It's for each core classroom, there's 25 capacity. And that's simply how the numbers are being made, or numbers are being calculated for the capacity. The numbers that Sizemore had at 1,700, I would characterize more as a equity aspiration based capacity that they did. The numbers that we are presenting, and we'll come out with details explaining the differences between the two, is more of ground truth, meeting with the principal, and actually the principal has the ability as part of our new process to appeal that capacity. And the principal at Midtown High School actually did appeal that capacity. That we met and we agreed that the 1525 was a number that both the principal and the planning staff were comfortable with. We are now looking at some other options to help maybe possibly increase that capacity within the building, as some of the options that we'll be talking about in March when we start talking about the options. But very clear understanding that we will have something that will come out before the meeting to explain the differences, and we'll probably touch on it specifically at the meeting next Wednesday. And I'll let Travis maybe talk about that second piece about the clarification of the rumors.
Thank you, Dan. All right,
I
Travis.
just put it in the chat, but feel free as they come up, let me, because I want to know. So here are the ones that have people have reached out directly to me, which I always appreciate. Cohen's being renovated to set it up as a school to address overcrowding. No, it's been on the books to get HVAC, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry or Dan, but Tumor's moving in there during their renovation. So that's not the plan for Cohen, and that APS keeps changing its numbers because we have an idea, a recommendation, and we want the numbers to fit that. No, there's no recommendation. There's no preferred option. You heard Dan talk about still trying to work with Midtown and other schools to figure out use of space. We'll come with scenarios in March for feedback from the community. That's part of that process each year to kind of share those scenarios and then kind of narrow it down.
Yeah, and I think for next week, we will be talking specifically about setting the table for the data, some of the stuff that Dima and other folks are asking about, setting the table for what we need to be doing, how many students we need to reduce by. But next week, we will not be coming with any solutions, any options next week. So as far as clarifications of the rumors, we'll have to wait till the March 8th, March 9th meetings when we come out with the actual options. We'd like to have some conversations with the community about what type of things they think we should be looking at when we develop those options for the March 8th and 9th meeting.
Thank you both. I think that was extremely helpful, and looking forward to hearing even more on Wednesday, and appreciate you bringing up the conversations and also the feedback from the principals. I think that's hugely important. And Travis, the Mythbusters, that big time helpful, and I look forward to that being presented, maybe even that way on Wednesday. Speaking of rumors, I think I saw something flash up about something I said. When somebody asked me if Mary Lynn, there was a proposal to move Mary Lynn out of the Midtown cluster, I said there was no proposal before the board with that, and that is the truth. So just want to clarify, I'm happy to send along my email that I sent to someone, a Mary Lynn parent. But like Dan said, I mean, there's nothing that's been proposed yet. Wednesday's conversation, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, is around high school capacity right now, and in particular focusing in on the schools that are in the red zone, which is Maynard Jackson and Midtown. So I'm gonna stop there because I know there are more questions.
Yeah, can I add a couple? And Katie, just some of the
Yeah,
stuff
please.
that I like the feedback from Emily on that. If it's static, it should be a range. So one of the things that came out of the high school capacity conversations this fall that really went deep was what else is available besides redistricting. So in the past, what would end up happening is a school would be red based on the number of classrooms, number of students, and then we would just reduce it from red to yellow or green, and then that was it. So through that conversation, it was, so what are all the scenarios that can happen within a school before you redistrict? And then the next set, what are all the things the district can do with CTAE, with programming, with technology, whatever, before you redistrict? And then the last stage, once you've tried those things, then do we need to redistrict to make that big impact? And those are like board level things. So that's definitely one of the kind of continuum. And yeah, I'll keep looking in the chat and try to respond.
Thank you, Travis. I appreciate both of you sharing that further clarification and information, and there's more to come. And thank you all for your engagement and asking these questions. All right, is Lisa next? And I don't have an exact hard stop on at 10, but it's got to be like right after 10. So I'm being mindful. And if I don't somehow get to you, I mean, you all can reach me and any board member on this call. So here for follow-up, as well as people from the administration from the district. All right.
For that time period, we'll let Dion, you just caught it, but we'll let Dion be our last speaker. So no
Okay.
more.
All right. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm in my car and my son is manning the Zoom.
You're good. Thank you for multitasking this morning.
I'll have him mute me after I ask my questions. I have a couple, but I'll go through them quick. One, I guess it's just a comment. I appreciated Mr. Drake, you explaining that the principals have some say in the capacities, because I know that has been an issue in the past where the capacity numbers are put out there, but the principals use those numbers differently. And I do think that helps with people understanding why numbers might be different. I just think it needs to be explained the way it was explained here in the present. Trouble getting on the call. So I just kind of caught the tail end about the Go Team discussion. So I apologize if this was discussed. But I do think that it is helpful for the Go Team to have some kind of mechanism to bring Go Team business to the communities outside of their meetings, because not everybody can make those meetings, and Go Teams need a way of hearing directly from parents outside of the 2-minute discussions. And so it would be nice to see if something would be, a mechanism would be given to Go Teams to use that, something formal. Then these are my actual questions, and it does relate to the high school capacity. One question is, if rezoning were to be on the table at some point, my questions are around students in high school who may be from one signature program going to a high school with a different signature program, and how that transition would be managed. My second question is, are there any guidelines from the district about how far you could be from a high school, given the locations of our different high schools? Those might not be answerable now, but just something that I hope we will hear more of if rezoning is on the table at some point. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I definitely think those are questions that need to be discussed during the meetings, but that's extremely great feedback and questions. And I love your idea about pushing out or opportunities for the Go Team to engage out in the community. And I don't know how that can be done under the parameters of the Go team, but that's something that certainly Travis and folks can talk about more at the right time. But it ties back into what Cindy brought up for M. Agnes Jones. So I think good feedback and I think a really good suggestion. All right, so Dion.
Yep, you got it.
Great. Hello.
Hi, Katie. Thank you again for opening
Oh,
up
is
this
it Dina or
conversation.
Dina?
Yeah, Dina. It's Dina. I'm sorry.
I'm
Dina.
sorry, Dina.
We
I
have close
apologize.
names.
Things are in different order. I apologize. Dion, we will get to you. Dina.
I'm
All right.
Deanne. Sorry, everybody.
My bad.
Yeah, thanks, Katie, for having this meeting and also for putting the rumor to rest. If you want to send me that email, I would greatly appreciate it because I do not like rumor or hearsay and would like to be able to have your written statement to provide to anyone that comes to me with that again.
Sure.
I have a couple things. I'm going to try to be pointed and brief. My first question is, why are middle and elementary school principals not included in the discussions for high school capacity, since it's those communities that are also going to be affected in the long term? I don't know if you want me to ask all my questions and answer, or if you want me to ask and you
Why
answer.
don't you go ahead and ask all your questions and then we'll respond if that's good with you.
Perfect. My second line of communication, or my second question is, how can we have a better line of communication between our board member, you, and our school, Mary Lynn Elementary? Because I know that I wasn't emailed about this meeting. And, you know, as we all are busy, I don't have time to follow everything on Facebook. So I would love a direct channel between you all and us so that we can communicate the information out to our families in time for them to prepare, reschedule, or whatever to attend meetings that are important to them. And my third and final question is, I do realize that you have clarified that there's no proposal yet. However, if there is a proposal that puts Mary Lynn in a position where they're going to be possibly subjected to rezoning, what will be your stance on that position and how will you support our community in our wants and our needs?
So we're going to start with the middle elementary principals being involved in the conversation around capacity. I don't know if Travis or anyone wants to just share something about that right now.
Sure, threw it in the chat, just keep me honest. We haven't engaged elementary and middle school principals for the 2 high school impacts yet. They will be, but we're engaging first the principals of those schools that are impacted. So Midtown, Jackson, Woodson Park, and then the elementary schools in the Douglas cluster that are impacted by that redistricting in Centennial. But then as we expand and we get scenarios and we see what neighborhoods are impacted or schools are impacted, then we'll expand the engagement further. But we're just starting with the impacted schools first.
Perfect. Thank you, Travis. And then, yeah, I'm with you about a great way to make sure I'm sending information to more families at Mary Lynn. I know there are many on my distribution list. So I'm happy to, and I definitely have the education committee person for Candler Park on my list, but I would want to make sure you're on there, whoever you recommend and suggest. I am all about clear channels of communication. So
what's the best way to get that information to you?
you can email me. You can email me at my APS email, which you can find me on the board page and just click on my face and it should come up.
Yeah, I got it.
Katie P. Howard. Oh, sorry. Good gracious. Katie.Howard. You know the rest, but not the P on this one. That's my personal. And yeah, I'm definitely not going to comment on anything before it comes before us, but I am all about engagement with you all at any time. So, and I did that last year in regards to changes to elementary. I am happy to come back out again. So just let me know. We can have conversation and feedback. And I think it's, again, really important to dispel rumors right now. So I'll say that for now, but yeah, let's have a lot more conversation and happy to engage with other families who cannot make it today. And clearly this meeting is not focused on that. We can have meetings that are, but yeah, I appreciate you asking those questions and being here.
And I'm sorry, Katie, this is Pierre. Also to that question, just want to make sure that Keith has your email address so that we can make sure that you're on the distribution list for the emails that are going out in regards to it, because those emails usually go out And I say usually, our goal is to get them out at least 48 hours or as soon as possible for those who are on that distribution list. And so we just want to make sure your contact information is there.
I just
Yep.
put it in. I just put it in
Thank
the
you.
chat.
And if
Oh, and I'm
you-
glad, yeah, you put it, perfect. And the
I was gonna-
president for, is that for PTA? For
The
Mary Lynn?
president, yeah, the president filters to me, but that makes sure that anyone thereafter me will also be included. So that would be the first one. And then if you want to add me as my personal email, that would
Great.
also be great.
Fantastic. So the board will, office will add it, and then I'll add it to mine too. For my, I send out a whole separate kind of newsletter update, which includes the link and the date for this meeting. So.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Sure. All right. So Keith, I'm gonna let you call out. 'Cause I
Yep,
just,
we got Waukesha, then Dion.
okay. Hey again, Waukesha.
Hey, I want to add this. We've been hearing a lot of conversation about COVID and learning loss, and I think we're not giving our teachers credit. They did get up, they did get online throughout the pandemic. Now, why we are severely behind still, that's another subject, but I really hope that we are taking care of our teachers and we're letting them know that we appreciate everything they did do and they're currently doing, because I'm hearing classrooms, and I've heard this for principals because I go to the Go Team meetings. We have a lot of kids in classrooms because teachers are out sick and teachers are just walking away from the field. So I think we really, throughout all these things that's happening, need to make sure that we're caring for our teachers and letting them know how much we appreciate them. That's all.
Amen. And I mean, that comes from us as individuals, and then definitely from the district level too, and the supports we're providing our teachers, especially around mental health for them. Could not agree more. And supporting them, retaining them, and building the pipeline, which to me includes affordable teacher housing. So next. Melissa, are you next? Is that right, Keith?
I had Dion.
Oh, Dion, sorry, Dion, I'm not trying to skip over you, I promise. I'm just not seeing this proper order. Dion, you're next.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. I just
Morning.
wanted to tag on to the conversations that happened on Monday about that I greatly appreciated about professional learning for teachers and the rollout of Orton Gillingham for K through 2. I think many of us know who've had it in our schools for 10 years or are in a field that works with Orton Gillingham, that there is certification at different levels. And I appreciate that the Board of Education asked those questions. I think we need to start tracking that at each school at a formal level. If you're truly looking at fidelity, then we need to know what levels the teachers are at and offering and being able to offer their students that level of expertise. And they should also, I'm just going to throw this out there, be given stipends for those certifications that they received. If literacy is, I mean, we're hearing it all over the nation. We had this problem prior to COVID and we're in the thick of it still, and even worse. So if we need to prioritize this, we need to show our teachers we greatly appreciate this extra professional learning they're doing, and we need them to do it quick and take free time. So let's give them a stipend for those services. Please, can we somehow work this out to support them in that way and make it a way in which it's beneficial for them to have this as well?
I think those are great suggestions. I agree. We definitely need to make sure we're fully supporting our teachers, educators, and getting additional training. Orton Gillingham is critically important. I mean, that's what we're being told it works. So how are we supporting it best? I'm all about us supporting professional development within our system for our teachers. Helping
Fidelity is the key though, right, Katie? You can say the word fidelity, but how are you actually at? So, there's terms used a lot, like Orton Gillingham is a great term to say you use. Fidelity is a great term to say, but if you're not tracking that teachers are actually certified at school X that has a literacy rate of Y, like these are some of the things that that are actual objective measures that you can change,
Nope, we hear you. And I think that's what the questions on Monday were definitely asking about. So thank you, Dan.
Right. Yeah, we just need to see those actions now.
Keith,
Yep. So we have two speakers. I know, I saw Melissa had her hand up, and then, but Melissa, so we have Melissa and Brittany. Are you?
yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I
Okay,
can go.
that'll
And
be
I
our last
appreciate,
two.
I know I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but
Okay.
if it has to get off, that's okay, but I'm
All right,
here.
so
for-
so
So
Brittany,
to-
you will be our last speaker. I know, Melissa, you dropped your hand down and put it back up. So you're next, and then Brittany, you'll end us off.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie, for hosting this session. And you know, I just wanted to share, I live in Inman Park, and we've been impacted from moving from Mary Lynn to Spark. And seeing the revised capacity numbers where Spark's now going to be at 53% was really shocking to me. And it feels like the move was, I know there's a bigger picture here. I think we got involved very at the end because we weren't even aware all of this was going on. And to Dan's point, I think like the communication can start a lot earlier if there is going to be redistricting. And also on the backside, like it's very unclear what resources are going to be provided. Now that the decision was made for the elementary schools, what resources are the schools going to get that are under capacity? What are the programs that are going to come on the other side? I think more communication on the back end would be really helpful. And the second thing would just be, you know, I'm really hoping that this rumor around Mary Lynn, Hope Hill, and Spark getting redistricted again, you know, is not true. But if it is, like, I would just hope there's more community outreach on the benefits and what APS is going to do to help these schools come back up to parity.
No, thank you for being here. And I appreciated engaging with families in Inman Park last year prior to the decision was made around the elementary and all that feedback. And I know it still is a transition. To your questions around the budget, I mean, those are things that, you know, should be coming from the district and should be discussed in Go Team, like right now. Of course, the formation of the new elementary, that work is in process too. But I hear you on making sure that schools are fully funded and supported and students in those schools, which does tie back to the student success funding formula work that's been done in that task force. But no, I'm definitely watching all that closely. And then, yeah, around the rumors, I mean, that's just not, we're not talking about that for those elementaries. And I think we need to have a time on Wednesday that we clarify that again. I think that's just, it's wholly unfair to people who were already just impacted. So that's not before the board. I will come out and say that in person to people. But yes, communication overall for all these conversations is critically important. So I'm looking forward to Wednesday, which is again honing in on the high school capacity. And we've said that, and that's what we're talking about there. There's nothing else we're talking about right now. But yeah, but I hear you.
Quick follow-up to that too. I think what would be good to know is what's actually on the agenda. Like, what is the solution? Because like all these rumors are like, what isn't the solution? But it would be good to know what's on the table.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Wednesday, we will clarify what we're talking about right here and now. And I will make sure that it gets out. I mean, I can't speak for the administration on Stan's information, but I know they're focused on that as well. Clear communication. So
thank you.
Done. You're welcome.
All right, Brittany, take us home.
All right.
Hi.
Brittany. Hi.
A question. When will you begin discussions about Herring's contract? Specifically, its renewal. A lot of times, if my memory serves, it's like it's June and school is out. And I think for those of us not in support, we'd like to know when is the appropriate time to make our voices heard.
My understanding from the accountability committee, and Tamara, you're on it. No, you're not on accountability. No, my bad. But I know they will be looking like it comes through them in the spring, but we will definitely be following up with more information as received. So I can tell you that right now. And they have been working on the additional tool for the evaluation that aligns with our student outcomes focused governance. But right now, I'd say just keep the feedback coming anytime. You don't have to wait. But yeah, I mean, we're open to receiving all feedback all the time. But right now, for the next round of the contract, looking at that in the spring. So more information to come as appropriate, for sure.
One more question. So I guess I'd like to be hit over the head when that's really starting. So my feedback, I've already signed the petition, but my other question is March 9th, you just announced a meeting at Midtown. Candler Park has a neighborhood event happening that night. Will that meeting be Zoomed so we can Zoom it before our neighborhood event?
What's the March 9th? Someone help me.
That's the town for
Specific one. Let me see how we can live stream it or Zoom it, record it, but we'll also be doing other engagement. That's just kind of the start. So, but let me see what virtual options we can offer for that same night.
I hear you, but we should have 100 neighborhood people. So
Okay.
if we can watch it.
Feel free to get their feedback during that event as well. And I can send you some stuff to pass out in ways for them. That's the best way to get feedback, is where people are. So I can give you some material to share with them at that time.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah, that's how we'll get even more. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you, Travis, for that response. It is now 10:10. I know we could keep talking for much longer, and I love this engagement. I really do. I appreciate you all from across the system being here today. Certainly, I am the Board of Education District 1 rep, but I care about students throughout the entire system. So really appreciate you all taking time out of your Thursday morning. I am always available. I have taken a lot of notes. I am going to be typing them up and providing feedback to the right people at the district level. But feel free to follow back up with me. Before I get off, I have to give props to the King Middle School girls Jaguars basketball team for winning the championship last night. And I am mad at myself for not knowing what happened with the Howard boys, because I know they beat King and we're moving on. So if anyone wants to give a shout out to them.
The Howard boys won too.
Yes. Thank you, Lindley.
Yes.
Yes.
They
I
did.
didn't get to go to the game last night. Like that schedule, there's a lot going on with basketball and all these other sports, but
But
thank
both
you.
games are great. It was great for both teams, all 4 teams.
Yes, I love it. So go Rams, go Jaguars. I appreciate you all being here. Reach out to me anytime. And I will definitely be there next Wednesday. So I'll see you there or out and about. And then we'll have the next engagement in March, this engagement that is, and we will send out a reminder of that date just to confirm. So
And as we close out, I also wanted to say
Yeah,
congratulations to the Midtown girls swim team, who placed 6th in the state championship. So they were 6th in the state. So
That's awesome. And thank you, Tamara, for all your support of swimming. Thank you. And yeah, any of my colleagues, if you want to say anything, I'm so sorry. I was rushing too much. Please, Tamara, if you want to share anything, or anybody else still on?
Yes,
Oh,
can
yeah,
I say
keep that.
something?
Yes, please. Any announcement for family engagement?
Yes, real quick, Board Member Howard, thank you. Just wanted to let everybody know we are doing our annual Summer Camp Expo again. It's hybrid. February the 28th is in person. I'm sorry, virtual. March 1st is face-to-face. We are pushing it out through all of our marketing collateral, communications, PTA, schools, parent liaisons, Go teams. We're also going to push it out Student Advisory Council and board members.
Great.
So it is an opportunity for families to register their students for summer camp as well as enrichment. And we also have a male engagement network where we need to hear from our males. So feedback, I'm not spearheading that, but there's someone on my team that will be. So if you can also share that information as well. Same marketing collateral channels, and we also place it in the chat. Thank you. That's all I have.
Awesome. I'm so glad you brought that up, Keisha. That's a great way to end. I look forward to getting that information because I will definitely be pushing it out to make sure our kids have lots of great opportunities this summer. And yeah, look forward to making sure the city of Atlanta knows about it too. We're all working together.
They're also going to be at the Summer Camp Expo. City of
And-
Atlanta Parks and Rec.
I'm sorry, Katie, just one, I promise I can make it 30 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lifeguards, just because Tamara just mentioned swim with Midtown. City of Atlanta are looking for lifeguards, looking for our students to do that. There will be lifeguard training, lifeguard jobs available for the summer. We will equip board members with flyers to also share on their social media, just as another means, and we're working internally to figure out how to get that information and other summer job opportunities shared. And so we'll be working with family engagement, communications, just to figure out how to get all those opportunities out.
And
Yes, thank
the training is free. It's the city's offering the training for free for APS students, and they only have to be 15.
Yeah, thank you, Tamara. And thank you, Pierre. And I know Cindy was on here earlier. I know specific needs for City of Atlanta pools, Rosa A. Burney and Mosley Park. Really making sure we reach out to families in those communities and those schools. I know I've reminded people to reach out to Washington and of course Jackson. It'd be awesome for kids to be able to walk to work to be a lifeguard. So thank you everyone for pushing that out. Well, I think we'll stop there, even though I know there's lots of additional great stuff we could share. Appreciate you all again. And yeah, reach out anytime and I'll be seeing you around virtually or in person. And have a great rest of your Thursday.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.